Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here, my boy Jeremy. We're going to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Wednesday, March 4th. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you ever came and checked out our website here at DFS you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including the complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel and Draftkings cash lineup tape. We're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So how you doing out there, Jeremy?
What's up, bro? I'm good.
Yeah, another day of grinding. Definitely, we always talk about our three main sports, NBA, NFL, and MLB. But hey, man, we're starting to have some other sports that are coming in regularly. We also got tons of NASCAR content on the weekends. We have some PGA. We got NHL daily. NHL's definitely been killing it. Take down a couple nights ago with our cash lineup there. So great time to check out the site and just kind of see everything that we're working with right now, man. So yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some basketball. We got some injuries already. There's going to be some value opening up. It should be a pretty good night.
There's already some value opened up. It should be a fun night. Big slate.
Hey, real quick, yesterday when we did our NBA live video that we do before 30, 45 minutes before slate, before we kind of update you guys on injuries. And that line that I ended up just saying really quick actually did pretty well. You know which line I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where we're talking about the balance lineup. Yeah, that lineup actually had a pretty good night right there with that one. It was a pretty decent night. And like I said, just do that together really quick. So and make sure you guys.
What did that get? What did it score?
I'm gonna have to look it up again. I'll find it and I'll bring it back up a little bit later in the video. But hey, man, if you guys are not, make sure to turn your notifications on. We got literally 5 or 6 videos just for NBA that we're putting up daily, 45 minutes before lock every single day. Me and Jeremy come on live and answer any questions you have about the slate. You know, if you're debating between two guys, come in, talk to us. We'll kind of give you our advice. If there's just come talk to us, man. Let's have some fun. Let's win some money, and let's jump into some basketball. You ready?
Yeah, that's just it, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we call you have to sift through the shit, and that's just it. Come in. We're pretty disciplined with our process. We don't usually get caught up in all the nonsense of what's going on throughout the day. Best thing to do is come in, get a second opinion, ask some questions, interact with us. We're here to help you out.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man. Hey, let's jump into this slate. Let's talk some basketball. You ready to go?
As long as I don't have to start with San Antonio, I'm cool.
Well, hey, the lucky thing for you is they're actually not on the slate today. So it's actually a pretty good game to start with, though. So we got Indiana going into Milwaukee to face the Bucks.
And look, this is a tough game, man. It's a tough game for Indiana. Milwaukee's really good. We don't know kind of rotationally the way things are working out for them. You could look at the regular set of guys with Sabonis. It's a good spot for Sabonis. Sabonis has had some decent games against Milwaukee this year, but it's a tough spot across the board for them just from a defensive standpoint. Milwaukee's the best team in the NBA, period. And they're the best defensive team in the NBA, period. I don't think there's any question about either one of those two statements. So from a fantasy standpoint, I don't get excited to target players in games against Milwaukee for the simple standpoint that if you look at the last week to 2 weeks, some of the games Milwaukee's been in have been very low-scoring contests, and there just hasn't been a lot of fantasy goodness in them. But you could definitely look at Sabonis. Sabonis is really a mismatch and really the only spot that you can exploit here. Miles Turner's price tag, look, if you want to get Miles Turner in a couple of GPPs because you want to play the narrative that Brook Lopez is a terrible center and he stands out the three-point line, you can do that as well. But I think that you don't pair them up together. You use Miles Turner or you use Sabonis, and you make that kind of hedge with that situation. Brogdon's price tag, I think, is getting up to the part where it's too expensive. And an 11-point spread, I'm just not really on any of these spots. I think that some value could possibly open up if we hear that Victor Oladipo is going to be ruled out. He's questionable as of right now. I think this is more just load management. They're being cautious with him because he's played in the last 5 games. Did play Monday and then he, ruled out on Tuesday in the second half of a back-to-back. So, it's Sabonis really for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on the Milwaukee side of things, there's a couple guys we could definitely look at. I think Eric Bledsoe, 5,700, Middleton at 6,900 are both coming in fairly cheap. You can look at Antetokounmpo. He already had one monster game this year going against Indiana where he scored 62 fantasy points. So definitely think you can look at him. I mean, he had a monster game, 18, 19, 9, 2, 2. So I think he's in play. And then the last guy I'll bring up, Brooke Lopez. 5,400. You don't think it would be the best spot here, but he's already faced him 2 times this year. He's already had 2 really solid games where he got 36 and 38 fantasy points, and at a 5,400 price tag, I mean that's 7, almost 8x on that price tag. So I think that you can look at him in GPPs as well, and that's really where I'm at. Moving on, next game we'll talk about, we got Boston going into Cleveland to face the Cavaliers.
And we've got injuries, right? We've got injuries. You've got Gordon Hayward burned a lot of people last night, and he was a popular play. And there's a correlation between Hayward's success and Kemba Walker being on the floor, and a lot of people played into that last night. I won't mention the site that kind of promotes that, but if you looked at Facebook and Twitter last night, Gordon Hayward, I saw tweets like, "I don't care if Gordon Hayward turns into Michael Jordan, I'm never playing him again." Like, so people were pretty hurt with that. We're on to today though, and you've got Kemba Walker, who's not going to play in the second half of a back-to-back. You don't have Gordon Hayward, who got hurt last night, and you don't have Jaylen Brown. All 3 guys have been ruled out. There's some obvious value now on the table, and it makes Jason Tatum's price tag of $9,300 look a little bit cheaper. We talked yesterday that he averages 23 points a game, 7 rebounds, a couple of assists. So he can already take on that usage. He's gonna take on more usage tonight. The price tag, I think it's a really good value for what he's gonna bring to the table. You can look at Grant Williams. You can look at Brad Wanamaker. You can look at Robert Williams. You can look at what's the other guy's name? Javonte Green. Javonte Green's supposed to play today. He's had some big games this season when filling in a similar spot to this. So those are all guys you can look at. And again, to me, Marcus Smart's the best play. Period. Point blank. End of story. 6,500 a month. I was so surprised last night that I'm a little bit upset with us too, because you were on him really tough, and we ended up not putting him in our cash game lineup, and he went for 47.2. He had 33 fantasy points in the first half. He played 35 minutes. Marcus Smart.
Oh, hey, he was in that lineup that I told you about that we just threw together real quick yesterday. Tell you, hey, that lineup did fucking hella good, bro.
And we should, yeah. And we that's what I'm saying. We sometimes outthink things, and maybe we outthought that, but we're moving on. Anyway, Marcus Smart's the default spot. I mean, it's a really good play. And last night he was 11% owned in almost every contest on FanDuel. There's not a chance in hell he's under 33% owned today. So Marcus Smart's a play, 6,500, very fair price tag. He'll lead them at the point guard position. He'll have high usage. He had 14 points and 10 assists last night. It's a good matchup against Cleveland, and I talk about it all the time. When Cleveland's at home, look at the difference in the spread. Cleveland just played at New Orleans, and they were they were plus 15, and now they're at home again, and they're only plus 4. So they play so much better at home. They're competitive at home, and I think that then they just beat Utah at home a couple of days ago. So this is a good game for Marcus Smart, in my opinion. It's a really good spot.
Yeah, for sure. On the Cleveland side of things, I mean, we're looking at the same cast of characters. You're looking at Colin Sexton. You're looking at Kevin Love, 6,600. He's had a couple of really good games in a row, starting to play like the regular Kevin Love that we know, and it's a very good price tag. A couple more guys you can look at in GPP. You can look at Kevin Porter Jr. He's been playing very well. The guy that you talked about the other day, and he did get a 6X. I was pretty happy with that. Cedi Osman, he's getting some big time burn right now. Last game played 39 minutes, so he's a guy that we can look at in GPP. Then we got to wait and see what happens with Tristan Thompson. We already know that Andre Drummond is ruled out. Tristan Thompson is a game time decision. If Tristan Thompson does end up getting ruled out, and it's going to be Larry Nance getting that start. Love Larry Nance in this spot. We love bigs going against Boston. I definitely think that Kevin Love will also get a boost if Tristan Thompson is ruled out as well. So we do got to wait on that news because, I mean, either way, I like the big guys for Cleveland, but I like Larry Nance a lot if he ends up getting the start because Tristan Thompson's ruled out. So that's some news that we got to wait on. But definitely think that there's some guys that we can look at on the Cleveland side of things going against a banged up Boston team for sure. Moving on next.
They were just in this spot, and Sexton went bonkers. And there's other guys too that you have to like Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I like him for sure. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got OKC going into Detroit to face the Pistons.
I don't know, man. This is a rough spot. The Pistons. I think the best quote I've heard about the Pistons was what you said the other day when we had them on the slate. You said they're playing a bunch of G League players. I mean, John Henson's never been a guy that's been a consistent contributor on any team in the NBA, and that's he's a starter in Detroit. So how much is here, right? I mean, this is an Oklahoma City team that's pretty good. I don't know how much is here. Vegas thinks it's a close game. It's only a -8 spread here. Steven Adams is the guy that I would look at first. 6,000 is a very fair price tag for Steven Adams. We know Steven Adams is an absolute beast. The guy, just from a human being standpoint, is incredibly strong. He doesn't get pushed around by anybody, and there's not a big, thick center that's going to play for the Pistons. It's a bunch of skinny, long guys. So I like Adams a ton in this spot. I wish he was playing more minutes, but if he's going to play 25 to 28 minutes at a $6,000 price tag, he can definitely get you a double-double. He could definitely get you 6X on this price tag. I also like a little bit of the value here, like Dort, Nerlens Noel. I kind of like some of those guys. But there's not a lot to like here in this game. There's just really not. It's a 9-game slate. If you're going to play somebody from here, my exposure would be to Steven Adams, and that's really it.
Man, on the Detroit side of things, it's tough, man. I mean, Derrick Rose is out. Brandon Knight's a game-time decision, and Brandon Knight's going to play and start. He's a guy that's been getting some run. He's been getting some decent production. I'm not really too excited. A guy that I think that if Brandon Knight's out, that'll probably get a lot of burn today. As you could possibly look at Langston Galloway, he'll get some extended run at 3,600 and possibly be a GPP play right there. But outside of that, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to – oh, shoot. I mean, I'm just going to say I'm going to have to pass completely on Detroit, man. I really don't have too much interest here for sure. It's G League team. No, thank you. Like I said, but I will like Langston Galloway if he's going to get the start and play 30-plus minutes. I've played him in the past, and he's a guy that definitely could fill it up for sure.
I think Langston Galloway hinges more on Bruce Brown, who's doubtful. I think Langston Galloway is a good play period today at 3,600. Even if Knight starts, I think that they're so shorthanded. Bruce Brown's doubtful already. If Knight does play, like you said, he's fine. But I think that Galloway is still a really good.
Yeah, but imagine if Brown's out and Knight end up getting ruled out too. Then Galloway will just be like, he'll be a really, really good play. Moving on. Next
but I'm just saying, I don't know how much boost he's going to get. You know what I mean? If Brown's out, I just don't know how much more boost he's going to get. Like, what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Next game we're talking about, we got Utah going into New York to face the Knicks.
Mike Conley's price tag is down to 5,600. The guy that I'm going to continue to talk about and continue to play in tournaments for sure is Royce O'Neal. This guy's having a really solid year. You just look he's had at least 24 fantasy points in each of his last 4 games. He had one dud against Houston where he only played 20 minutes, had 13 fantasy points, and then the game before that he had 32.1. So really in 5 of his last 6 games, the guy's had at least 24 fantasy points at a 4.6 price tag on FanDuel, and he fills a stat sheet up in every category. He's kind of like a young, poor man's Trevor Ariza. He does all the same things that Trevor Ariza does. He'll knock down a 3 if they need him to. He plays defense. He gets rebounds. He gets steals. I like this guy a ton as a power forward value play, really in tournaments every single night. And he's really a leverage play because when we're talking about tournaments, it's not so much about projections as it is about ownership, right? You need to get leverage on ownership. And I think that with so many popular plays all the time, he continues to be a really good leverage play from an ownership standpoint. Bogdanovich had a really nice game the other night. He goes for 45 fantasy points. He needed 28 actual points to do that. And that's what we talk about all the time with Bogdanovich. If you just look at what Bogdanovich does game in and game out, if he scores the basketball and his price tag is, under 6,000, he's a decent play. He's a good shooter. His usage is okay, but he needs to score the basketball to get you fantasy production at 5.3 a 9-game slate. In deep format tournaments, I'm fine with them. But I'm the only other guy that I'm really looking at here, to be honest with you, is Jordan Clarkson. I like this play of Jordan Clarkson. It's been a good spot for him since going over to Utah. He's had some up and down games, but he's had monster upside: 33.9, 34.6, 31.3, had 44 points against Dallas. The guy, we know what Jordan Clarkson brings to the table, and in a game like this against the Knicks, I think it's a game where Jordan Clarkson could go out and have a pretty decent shot at returning you 6x.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on the Knicks side, hey, real quick, before we get on the Knicks side of things, I have a just quick question. I'm not trying to get off topic, but did you see what happened with the Knicks and Spike Lee?
With what? With what?
With the Knicks and with Spike Lee and all the drama.
No.
Oh, okay, so I'm just, hey, 30 seconds is gonna run you over. Okay, so everybody in this world, whether you're a baby or you're an old man, knows that Spike Lee is the #1 Knicks fan ever, right? He's on the movies, in the Knicks, etc. Right. So I guess when was it? 2 nights ago, Spike Lee's had the exact same courtside seats for 28 years. Every single game he goes through this like employee entrance, like 31st Street or something. Exact same entrance. Basically, make a long story short, for 28 years, goes up the elevator. That's how he gets to his seat every single Knick game. You know what I mean? So I guess 2 nights ago, he goes his regular routine, goes through the same door he always goes through the elevator. He's stepping in the elevator, about to go up, up to the floor for floor side seats, etc. And the security comes up to him and tells him, "Hey, Spike Lee, you can't go through this elevator anymore. You're gonna have to go back outside. You're gonna have to walk around on the main street, and you're gonna have to go either through the VIP entrance or you're going to have to go through the general entrance. You're not allowed to come through this entrance anymore, even though you've been coming through this entrance for 28 years." Right? And Spike Lee just went.
So he's already in the elevator at this point.
He's in the elevator already.
So instead of saying, "Hey, bro, like we got a new policy. We're gonna let you go there today to your seat. Next time, we appreciate if you come."
No, they were trying to make him go around and come back in. Right, and he lost it, kind of went bonkers a little bit. They ended up just letting him go up, went to his seat, right, and then the owner at halftime, the owner goes up to him in the while he's sitting at his seat, he's like, "Hey, you're not allowed to do this no more," blah 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 blah. And Spike Lee, like, bro, he was just, to make a long story short, okay, Spike Lee was like, "I'm not going to come to any more Knicks games this whole entire year. And I don't know if I'll ever come to any Knicks game ever again if you guys didn't disrespect me like that." But he was pissed, bro. It was like on First Take, yeah, Stephen A. Smith talking about it. Yeah, bro, like that's like your ultimate fan and you disrespect the man like that. Like, is it really that big of a deal? The dude's been doing it for 28 fucking years. You know what I mean?
I think Spike Lee is more iconic than the Knicks are.
Right. So then they started having a debate on who was the worst.
He's the like Charles Oakley than Spike Lee. I think Spike Lee's more recognizable as a New York Knick, and the Knicks, like he's more, you associate those two together more than you do like Patrick Ewing or John Starks. Right.
And it's funny because they started having a debate, like for people to call in and name who was the worst run sports organization. It's hella funny, bro. People were hella bashing on the Knicks, bro. Like,
James Dolan's an absolute idiot. The guy's he's a moron. He's
a lot of people. Moron. A lot of people were saying that for sure. Sorry, not trying to get off topic, but I just couldn't believe they did Spike Lee like that. Like, your most iconic, like you said, your most iconic figure in your fucking organization, and you're gonna fucking make a big deal up over going to an elevator that he's done for basically his whole life. You know what I mean?
If you have that as the priority when you wake up in the morning, to make sure that you go to the Garden and you tell security, you have a meeting with security, and you tell them, "Hey, our priority for the day is to fuck with Spike Lee and tell Spike Lee he can't go through this entrance anymore. He's been doing it for 28 years. That's your priority for the day." Like, you're the worst run organization in the NBA, and you wake up in the morning and grab your little legal pad and you write down, "Fuck with Spike Lee today." Like, that's what's wrong with the New York Knicks.
And he was saying that just a couple of days before that, he had went to the Garden for like a choir or something. Like, they had a big old event out there, and he went through the elevator, no problem. Nobody told him nothing. And all of a sudden, a couple of days later, went to the game. and they were just messing with them, bro. But my bad. I'm not trying to get off topic. I just thought that was crazy.
I'm not really for like special treatment for anybody. Like I don't care what your celebrity status is. Like do what everybody else does, right? But you're talking about a guy who's done something. He is the New York Knicks. Like that is the New York Knicks. Like if you think of Spike, when you say Spike Lee, the first thing that comes to my mind is this. Like this, the first thing that comes to my mind is him and Reggie Miller. Like that, Spike Lee's the Knicks.
For sure. Right. No, for sure. And that's what he was like. He was even saying, like, I'm not asking for special treatment, but this is just my regular routine. Like, come on. He was like,
you don't have bigger fish to fry, bro. I mean, you're terrible. And you just wake up in the morning, grab your legal pad. You're like, fuck with Spike Lee today. Come on, dude.
I know. So, all right. Anyways, with the Knicks, man, I think there's a couple guys you could possibly look at. Alfred Payton coming in at 50.
Is Spike Lee available to play today? Because I would load his ass up.
Yeah, so like I said, you got Alfred Payton coming in at 5,800, strictly a GPP, but you can look at him there. I think he has a little bit of upside on that price tag. RJ Barrett at 5,200 has really been coming alive. I think that you could possibly consider him. And then Julius Randle, man, 7,900. He continues to play. I'm a really big time Julius Randle fan, and I wish he didn't go to the Knicks because the guy deserves to be on a team that has, a winning opportunity. Imagine Julius Randle instead of Derek Favors as the center out there in the Pelicans with that team. Well, that would just be ridiculous. So I'm going to continue to play Julius Randle. He's really the only bright spot out there in New York. And that's really it for me, man. It's those three guys, Payton, Barrett, Julius Randle, and I'm ready to move on. Next game we're talking about, we got Memphis going into Brooklyn to face the Nets.
All right, so my bad, bro. I was in Discord chat with the member. All right, so we've got Memphis. Valanciunas is going to be a popular play today because the streamline play has always been for the last 2 years to roll centers against the Brooklyn Nets. It's worked. It's not a strategy that you have to think twice about. And Valanciunas is a guy who's playing really well this season. I would argue this is Valanciunas' best season in the NBA. He makes the most of the minutes he gets. There's nights where he only plays 20 to 22 minutes and he still gets you a fantasy point per minute. Then there's nights where he plays 30 to 32 minutes and he gets you 50 fantasy points. He's coming off 3 really good games, 48 against the Sacramento Kings, 49 against the Lakers, played 24 minutes against the Hawks and had 35 fantasy points, 15 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists. He fills up the stat sheet in every single category. You look at the Laker game, he had 22 and 20. That's an Andre Drummond type of game. There's not a lot of 22-20 games in the NBA anymore with the way the NBA is played. I also think that, look, the Nets are coming off a very, very fast-paced, high-scoring game last night. It's the second half of a back-to-back. There could be some letdown in this type of a game. It's a close spread. It's a higher over-under at 223.5. But, for me, this is one of those games that you liked Kyle Anderson the other day. I like Kyle Anderson in this spot today because the Nets do turn the ball over, and Anderson is one of those guys that he's not shooting the ball very well at all right now. Let's just put that out there. So he's not making the most of his shot opportunities, and he's still returning you a 4 to 5x figure in 20 to 30 minutes, right?
Right.
30.4 fantasy points against Houston in only 18 minutes, 24.6 against the Clippers in 21 minutes, and he's only scoring like 6 to 8 points. That means he's really getting you rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. And if he's able to knock down a couple extra shots, you're looking at a 7 to 8x game out of this guy, which he's more than capable of doing. So I like Anderson quite a bit today. John Morant, I'm staying away from this, man. It seems like every time Memphis is on the slate, we talk about it. But Morant, DeAnthony Melton, Tyus Jones, I'm staying away from the situation. If I miss John Morant going 10x tonight, I miss John Morant going 10x tonight. I'm just staying away from it because to me it's a lot like the Charlotte situation with the center, but Morant's actually playing minutes. He's just not very productive. There's a lot of times he's coming up the floor, he's passing the ball off right away, and the ball never finds its way back to him. So, for me, I'm staying away from Morant. I would look at Kyle Anderson. I would look at Valanciunas and move on.
Yeah, on the Brooklyn side, I think it's simple. I'm looking at 2 guys. I'm keeping it simple, and I'm out. You can look at Spencer Dinwiddie. He's getting, the bulk load of minutes right there at the point guard spot, playing a ton of minutes yesterday. Dinwiddie only played 23 minutes. I think he got in foul trouble, if I'm correct. So the fact he didn't play a crazy amount of minutes yesterday, I think he'll be all right for the second end of a back-to-back today. Then I'm going to continue to ride Karis LeVert. I'm not chasing Karis LeVert because he went off for 51 career high yesterday, But bro, I'm a Karis LeVert believer, and I'm going to continue to play him at a 6,000 price tag. And the guy has got 62 fantasy points or more in 2 of the past 4 games. He's just too cheap right now, and you don't really need you need a decent game for him to hit value. And I definitely think he can get you at least 6 or 7x on this price tag. So I think that you can look at Karis LeVert against a young Memphis team. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Orlando going into Miami to face the Heat.
Karis LeVert. You just like the meme we posted on social media today.
Hey, it was funny as hell, though, for sure.
Hey, I mean, one thing, not to get off topic, but the dude dropped 37 points in the fourth quarter yesterday. Like, that's Klay Thompson type stuff, man. I
didn't watch it. Was he hitting threes, or were he just coming down every time, just getting to the rack?
I'm going to talk about Orlando. I'll let you talk about Miami, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you what he did.
Okay.
So you got Vucevic at 8,300. The other day, Vucevic was like, I want to say 8% owned, and he had 48 fantasy points against Portland. And he was like, it was crazy because he was like 8% owned in tournaments. And this just shows you, like, if you're not a part of a site like, you know, like ours, and you're not, I don't want to get far off topic here, but I have to say this. If you're not getting advice on how to build cash game lineups or a part of a website that has the tools that we have, you're missing out, because here's a good example. In tournaments, this guy was 8% owned, and he was 68% owned in cash games. And that is because there's a couple of sites that are just, you know, providing cash game lineups to all their members, and they're all playing the same lineup. And this guy was a perfect example. Like, out of nowhere, Vucevic is 68% owned in cash. And I'd have to look at the slate again, but on that day, I believe there was really good value at the center spot with a couple of guys like Biyombo, and we were on Whiteside, I believe, in this matchup. But anyway, he's playing really well. His price tag is really fair. Bam's a really athletic guy who's going to dominate rebounds, so I don't like Vucevic as much today on this slate as I maybe did on different slates. He hasn't played the best against Miami. He did have 42 fantasy points back on February 1st, but that's, you know, you need 48 out of him to get you value, and he hasn't had 48 since last year when he had 54. So I'll stay away from Vucevic. We need to see if Aaron Gordon's going to play or not. Aaron Gordon is expected to return, though, today. Kim Birch burned a ton of people the other night with 0 fantasy points and no run with Aaron Gordon out. But this is the one guy I'm going to concentrate on, is Aaron Gordon. 37.5 fantasy points when they played on February 1st. This guy, like you've said many times, since the All-Star break and getting burned in the slam dunk contest, he's taken it out on every team he's played. There's other good value here with Terrence Ross, Evan Fournier, Markelle Fultz. We could talk about them, but to me, the mainstay is Aaron Gordon. I think this is a good spot for him with healthy legs coming off a little bit of a rest. He's got rested legs.
Yeah, for sure. On the Miami side, I mean, we're looking at Goran Dragic, Kendrick Nunn. Both of those guys are very fair price tag. We got them projected both at a little bit over 5x. Definitely think that you can look at them. Jimmy Butler's priced down a little bit at 7,500. Definitely think that this is a pretty good spot for Jimmy Butler. Jay Crowder's come in to Miami, and he's been playing very well. They're showing that they like to play the guy some minutes. At 4,500, he's still a little bit underpriced. Definitely think you could consider him. And last but not least, you mentioned him, Bam, at 8,400. The guy's just playing very well this season, giving you a really, really solid floor. Double-double night in and night out. And I never like to count on defensive stats. That's not something that I really look for every single night when I make decisions on players. But at the same time, Bam is one of those guys who he's going to get you a couple defensive stats, you know, whether it's a steal, whether it's a couple blocks, etc. So I really like Bam. I like the floor that he gives us. And in an up-tempo game like this, he's a pretty athletic guy that can run it up and down the floor and have a pretty good game here.
So your boy LeVert, right? Your boy LeVert, just really quick.
Yeah.
He outscored the Boston Celtics by himself in the fourth quarter. He had 37 points. Boston had 34. So that was LeVert by himself, right?
Right.
They went in there, and they were trailing by 14 in the fourth quarter, I believe, to Boston, before he decided he was just going to go absolutely ham. Knocked down threes. He basically, anything the guy looked at, he knocked down. The other thing is, that's the best fourth quarter in the history of the NBA. LeVert had 37. Latrell Sprewell 34, Trae Young 33, Kobe Bryant 33. Like I don't know if you could put into words. The only other quarter I've ever seen close to that was it 3 years ago when Klay Thompson hit like 10 threes in the third quarter against Sacramento?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's the only thing I've ever seen close to this. Like I mean, I've watched every Laker game ever when Kobe played, but that's what your boy Karis LeVert did.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I'm playing them tonight, man. Playing them tonight. I'm not chasing it, but it's another good.
Tonight, it's not. Yeah, but saying I'm playing him tonight is not chasing it. Like that's a drive-by research. Like he's too cheap. He's 6,000. He's too cheap.
And that's the reason I'm playing them. Exactly the reason I'm playing them. You know, and like I said, I mean, he's had 60 points in 2 of the past 4, and his price tag is still just silly. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Chicago going into Minnesota to face the Timberwolves.
And it's the Chicago Bulls, man, and it's Lauri Markkanen comes back. Wendell Carter, he's going to be limited. Wendell Carter is going to be limited 20 to 22 minutes tonight. And they've got Zach LaVine out, Chris Dunn out for the season. There's no Luke Kornet. Chandler Hutchison is doubtful. He hasn't played. So who do you look at here? There's obvious value. We talk about it all the time with the 3 point guards, with Kobe White, with Arcidiacono, and with Shaquille Harrison. Those are 3 value plays. But to me, Otto Porter's back. Otto Porter's been a really good player in the league for a long time when he's able to stay healthy. He's supposed to play 20 to 22 minutes. I talked about Otto Porter the other day when I did my deep dive podcast, and I said even if the guy plays 17 minutes, he can get you, 28 to 30 fantasy points. He had 26.7, scored 18 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. He's supposed to get a bump up today and be limited to around 22 minutes. If he plays 22 minutes in this matchup against Minnesota, who's on the second half of a back-to-back, and just scored was in a game with 1 million points scored last night. I believe that game did it go to overtime or did it just come down to the last shot? I can't remember. But
I didn't see
the Minnesota New Orleans game. Did that game go overtime or did it go? There was an overtime game last night, and I can't remember which one it was.
I think New Orleans won in the end. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, no, they did, but I just can't remember. There was 1 million points scored. Anyhow, they're on a back-to-back, and this is a game where we know that Minnesota wants to play fast, and I think Otto Porter in 22 minutes is a really good value play at 4,500 that a lot of people aren't going to be thinking about. They'll be thinking about Kobe White. They'll be thinking about Denzel Valentine, who had a really good game, which we were all over Denzel Valentine when we knew that he was going to get some run. To me, it's hard to target one specific play here outside of Thomas Satoransky. I think that's the only guy that we know is going to play minutes, and Kobe White. Those are the only 2 guys we know are going to play minutes. They're going to play 30 minutes. The rest of these guys are value plays and they're tournament plays, and it's Porter, Wendell Carter, Denzel Valentine, and those are like the value spots. And then Saturday and White, we know we're going to get minutes. Those are the 5 guys I think are definitely in play on the Bulls team.
Yeah, no, I definitely like Wendell Carter going against a Minnesota team that doesn't have a real center for sure. On the Minnesota side of things, there's a couple guys, man. You got D'Angelo Russell, 8,200, definitely in play. You got Malik Beasley at 5,300, playing very well. He's definitely in play. The only other guy that I'm really liking that I'll even consider playing is Naz Reid at 4,500. The guy continues to get basically as much minutes as he can handle down low. I like big guys going against Chicago. We got him projected at almost a 6.5x value at 29 fantasy points. I think that you could continue to look at Naz Reid. And that's really where I'm at, just those 3 guys, and I'm ready to move on. Next game we'll talk about, we got New Orleans going into Dallas to face the Mavericks.
Play them all. I mean, period. I don't know what else you want me to say here. All 5 starters are in play. The price tag is extremely fair for all 5 of these guys. It just seems like, they're all tournament plays. Outside of Lonzo Ball, he's the only guy that I would play in cash. And the reason is Lonzo Ball has a floor that seems to be about 30 fantasy points, which on his current price tag is about 4.5x. So the price tag is coming up, but he's the one guy because he's the ball handler and he does dish the ball a lot. And New Orleans is scoring a lot of points, which yields for a lot of assists for him. He's the only guy that I would really consider playing in cash. Maybe Zion in cash. The other 3 guys, it just seems like whoever has the hot hand is going to have the big night. Last night it was Drew Holiday. He had over 50 fantasy points. Tonight it could be Brandon Ingram. They're all in play, and they're all playing extremely well, and they're all very fair priced. I'm not interested so much in the bench guys because their starters are playing a ton of minutes. You look at Drew Holiday, 36.8 minutes over the last 5. Ingram is 35. Zion 32, Lonzo Ball 33. So those 4 guys are getting a ton of minutes. And I don't even mind if you want to stack those 4 up in tournaments and then fill your roster out with 5 one-offs. I don't mind a stack of the Pelicans.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on the downside of things, I think I'm just really honest. It's Doncic, it's Porzingis. I like both of those guys. It's going to be a track meet type game, up tempo, and I think they got the advantage. The fact that the fact that New Orleans is on the second end of a back to back. They got a day off yesterday, so I like Porzingis. I like Doncic. I like both those guys a lot. The only other guy I'll even throw in the mix is Tim Hardaway Jr. He's definitely been up and down this season, but he's really shown us some upside. In 4 of the past 6 games, he's got us at least 32 fantasy points. With a couple 40-point games in there, I think you could look at him as a tournament play, a guy that could get hot in a kind of a fast-paced game, and that's really where I'm at. Moving on, final game of the night, you got Washington going into Portland to face the Trailblazers.
Back-to-back for Washington. They were getting their doors blown off of them in the first half of the game against Sacramento, and then they made it very competitive. It was a fun game to watch. I watched the last 9 minutes of that. Bradley Beal's insane. Bradley Beal's really good, man. It's just period. I mean, we know Bradley Beal's good, but when you watch what the guy does on the floor, he's just really good. Some things to be careful with, though, on this one, on the Washington side of things. I would be very careful with the big men. I'd be careful with Thomas Bryant. I'd be careful with Jan Mahamini. I'd be careful with, actually Thomas Bryant just ruled out. So that takes care of that. Back-to-back, he's going to be out. So, maybe that opens up some value. But the guy, to me, that if I'm going to play value here and this type of game against Portland, especially with Dame supposed to be coming back, I think that I would play Bertans at 4,900. Bertans, he's a shooter. He knocks the 3 down, and he gets you rebounds, 34.8 and 27.9 in back-to-back games. He was a starter earlier in the season. We've seen his price tag as high as $6,000 on FanDuel. Played 30 minutes against the Warriors. He played 28 minutes last night. The minutes are there. Before he got hurt, we were seeing him play 36 to 37 minutes, and like I said, almost $6,000. So Ryu Hashimura, I'm going to continue to play this guy as well. Extremely athletic, under the radar, big guy, and Bradley Beal, man. You got to play Bradley Beal in a spot like this. I get the value of Shabazz Napier. He gets a boost today as well without Ish Smith, who's looking doubtful in this one. And there's probably a couple of sneaky guys you could look at here. You could probably look at Troy Brown with Ish Smith being ruled out at 3,900. He's been a contributor on this team for a while. He's also getting some burn as of late. 15 minutes last night. He's kind of been between the 15 and 18-minute mark. He probably plays 24 minutes tonight without Ish Smith, and that's really where I'm at with these guys.
Yeah, man, on the Portland side of things, I absolutely love Whiteside today. Like you said, Thomas Bryant is ruled out. Whiteside just had this matchup a little bit over a month ago, about a month and a half ago. The guy went for 23 and 21, 5 blocks for 64 fantasy points. I mean, I like him once again here. I think that this is a premier spot for Whiteside, but I've never, ever played Whiteside or thought about Whiteside so much as I have this year. Moving to Portland from Miami was probably the best thing that happened in this guy's career. He's really, really, playing very well. You know what's going to be crazy, bro? Is as well as Whiteside is playing, they're going to end up getting Nurkic back pretty soon as well. Imagine them playing Nurkic and Whiteside next to each other. That's like 2 twin towers right there. And that would be
I think that's Portland's problem, though, man. Like, you could say the same thing about Lillard and McCollum. Like on paper, playing them next to each other.
They're too similar. They're too similar kind of style games. I get you, but Nurkic could shoot a little bit, So,
if you would have said like back in 2010 that Portland was going to have Nurkic, a guy like Nurkic and a guy like Whiteside playing next to each other when the Lakers were running out. Why can't I think of his name? What was it? Was Andrew Bynum? And they had Bynum and Gasol next to each other. That was a big deal the way basketball was played 10 years ago.
Right.
But now, I just don't.
It's too much. I get you. The speed of the game is too much to kind of have.
Package up Nurkic and McCollum and send them out for something else next year. That's what I would do in the summer.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean they do got to make some kind of change there. They're never going to get over the hump. But yeah, so I mean, I really like Whiteside in this spot. CJ McCollum's been absolutely tearing it up, but at an 8,800 price tag with Damian Lillard, and Damian Lillard's probably going to come back and be on a minutes limit. But the fact Damian Lillard's going to still be out there for 22 to 24 minutes, he's going to take a lot of that usage away for CJ McCollum. I just can't play CJ McCollum at this price tag. with Damian Lillard out. But at the same time, I mean, Washington is a premier matchup that we always talk about. A very up-tempo game. I guess you could throw him in a couple of GPPs. Damian Lillard, I'm not going to play. I got to wait and see what happens to him. Carmelo, Trevor Ariza, both of them are coming in pretty cheap. You could possibly consider them. But my main spot right here that I'm loving is Whiteside going against a Washington team with no center. And that's really where I'm at with Portland. Cool. Hey, if you guys want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out.